What's up everyone, Matt again, and welcome to my third tutorial on using Photoshop. In this tutorial I'm going to show you how you use adjustment layers, and what they allow you to do is just make kind of adjustments across your whole picture to the colour, to the hue, to the saturation, to the amount of different colour variations you have, which are called levels, and quite a few different things which can be really powerful. And the way we're going to do it, there's two ways you can do it. You can either click on one of your layers down here and you can go to image adjustments and you can do it in here. What you're going to need to know is that in order to do these adjustments, we first need to rasterize these layers. At the moment, because they're images, they're stored as smart objects. So if you just right click on the image here and just go to rasterize, and then similarly on this one just go to rasterize, and that just allows us to use the adjustments on them, but takes away some of the features they have as smart objects. We're never going to use the smart object images in these tutorials, so I always just rasterize them and get rid of it. So we're now going to apply adjustment. So let's say I want adjustment on the background here. I'm going to go to image and adjustments, and then I'm going to select one of my adjustments in here. Now this is not a great way of doing it, because once you've done it, so let's say we put the saturation down to -100, make it all black and white. If I do this, I'm not going to be able to undo it later on. I can undo it straight away, so if I press OK and then press Ctrl Z, I can undo it straight away. But if I come back to this in kind of a few days time, I'm not going to be able to get rid of that change. So what I'm actually going to use is an adjustment layer, and this is just a layer that sits on top of your other layers and adjusts the ones underneath it. So let's go to layer, new adjustment layer, and then we can select from our adjustment list here. The one I'm going to be using first of all is hue/saturation. So you go to hue/saturation, press OK, and it will drop it in here. As a quicker method, we can, if I delete this layer, we can actually just click in our adjustments tab up here, and if you can't see that, then go to window and make sure adjustments is ticked. And apparently saying adjustments a lot is giving me a bit of a lisp, which is a first. But anyway, so we're going to click on hue and saturation on here, and it will automatically create you an adjustment layer as such. It also automatically adds on a layer mask for you to do clipping mask things the same way you would use a clipping mask. So I'm going to click on this section here, double click on it, and it will bring you up the adjustment properties. This is where we're going to adjust all the properties that we want to do. So hue at the moment changes the hue of the entire image. The saturation changes how much colour is in it. So if we do that, and then you'll see that we get quite a high contrast in coloured image because of the saturation. If we put the saturation right down, then we get very little, and then the lightness and the darkness just changes how light and dark the picture is. If you put on colorize, then it's going to make the picture have a particular colour a lot easier. If you don't have colorize, then you've got to have the saturation up quite a lot, and it gets a little bit of contrast, so sometimes it's quite good to use colorize. That is your hue and saturation. Depending on where it is here, it will affect, at the moment, it will affect anything that's underneath that layer. So if I move this layer down here, it doesn't affect my face because it's on top of the saturation. If I move it up here, then it does affect it. I'm just going to change this to kind of a orangey bronze to make it look a little bit more like an old picture. There we go. And that just gives us a nice effect now that just looks a little bit worn. And if we want to apply it to just this layer, say, just one layer, what you have to do is press Control, Alt, and G, and you'll see now that it's applied this layer mask to the layer beneath it, and that's this new layer down here, the photo. So that's how you would apply it to just a layer that's in the front. And if we want to change this even more, say we want to make it a bit darker, then we can do that as well. And we can put in multiple ones, so let's put another hue saturation, and let's put it on this bottom one. And I'm going to press Control-Alt-G in order to, or Command-Alt-G on a Mac, and that will link it to this one. And then in my hue saturation, I'm going to put my saturation down. I'm going to have my hue as blue that I'm going to colorize, and I'm just going to change my darkness and my saturation down a bit more. And there we go. So you can quite quickly start to use these adjustment layers to change the images of the pictures of your images, to give them quite a few cool effects. The main one that I used is to put a saturation on something to make it kind of black and white or old looking. And when we come on to future tutorials, we're probably going to use it to pull off quite a few different effects. I'll just show you a couple of other ones. So let's say we want to put levels. So I'm going to get rid of my hue saturation on this one. I'm going to put in a levels one instead. So let's find our levels on here. Levels. And what this does is we want to do our Control-Alt-G. So to make it just on this one, we adjust our sliders, and this means that you kind of limit the amount of black and white. And the closer they are together, the fewer levels you have. So this is how you kind of create your Andy Warhol style pictures, by reducing your levels down. You have to play around them a bit most of the time, but quite often if you're using someone else's design for a particular kind of filter, they'll tell you what to put your levels at in here, which is very useful. And you can just change how light or dark your levels are as well, which is useful. So I'm going to make mine super dark and super light, like that. And just play around with the different ones. They're all quite useful. I'm going to be covering various ones when we go into your different filter types. But for now, the important thing I'm trying to teach you is how you apply a layer adjustment, and the importance of using the layer adjustment instead of just going image and adjustments, because this is unundoable, it's unreversible, and you'll never get it back again. So that's it for this tutorial, and the next tutorial I'm going to show you how you use the different opacities of a layer to merge two images. So thanks for listening, and I hope to catch you soon.